What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is a big milestone in the evolution of the Disco. So I got the old Buick Land Rover, whatever it was, out of there. It's completely gone and I cannot be more happy. It fought me every single bit of the way, but it's now the new owner's problem. And he's got some grand ambitions to it, and I don't want to talk about that because he will let me. In its place, I have an LM7 that I'm going to show you the part where, I'm going to walk you through all of that too. But first, I kind of hinted on this on the end of the roof rack episode. Life's been kind of crazy. I moved houses and I never had an optimal workspace in the old house, and I still obviously don't have an optimal workspace here. But let me take you through and show you sort of where I'm at and where I'm working with, and it'll probably make a lot more sense. All right, so I got the engine out, finally. I'll flip the camera around and show you guys with where I'm at and give you some thoughts on it, but it's chickens, man. I tell you, never, ever, ever get chickens. So here's the old lump, came out, probably not the best pull-out job ever, but no damage to the car, no damage to the engine. So what do we have in here? Cleaned all this up. God, I'm sorry, guys. So I cleaned all this up and sprayed it down with simple green, power washed it all off with this little power washer that I have. And so tomorrow I'm gonna pick up the adapter kit and go from there. All right, guys, so I made it back from my journey yesterday, and I was able to get, so sorry about those chickens. Anyway, I picked up the LM7 3rd gen, and let me show you what I got. Kind of came like this. It was pretty much complete. Hacked up wiring harness, blah, blah, blah. And came with a bunch of other stuff. Got the wiring harness, the computer, so that other one's just gonna be a jumper. So this is sorry, these chickens. So anyways, that's the Defender, or the Disco. Started tearing up the top of it. I need to move it over just a bit so that I'm not like fighting in this little space over here, but I'm gonna get this thing moved over and get at it. All right, so here's where we're at right now, but before I show you all this, let me put this photo up on the screen. This is how I took it home once I got it on the stand and where everything looked. You can see it's a mess. So here's where it's at now. A couple things to note. This exhaust stud broke. What else? This exhaust stud broke. This exhaust stud broke. Obviously both beneath. That's going to be a bit of a problem. This sensor looks a little messed up. I have no idea what it is. If you guys know, please let me know. Same with these two sensors right here and right here. No clue what either one of these do. That looks like an oil pressure, but I mean, I may be way off. So please let me know. The plan is, while all of this is on the bench, what we're gonna do, obviously the knock sensors, new knock sensor harness, these gaskets are all broken off. These gaskets are all broken off. So all of this is gonna be newly gasketed. And so in the kit, this has to be removed because a new one goes on for a tone ring that bolts down in here with a little sensor or something, I don't know. So this is all coming off. So everything heading toward the engine up to here is going to be replaced. That means oil pump, water pump, timing system, crank wheel sensor, or this main thing, everything, right? And because I'm doing, like I mentioned again, because I'm doing the whole gasket set, I might as well pull the heads off, do all new bolts and everything, get the heads off, do the head gasket as well. This isn't going to be a show car. In fact, I hope no one ever has to see this because that means something went wrong. But I'm going to probably paint some things like this, probably paint the engine block down below. while everything's there. That kind of remains to be seen. But right now, right now, I'm gonna go inside and just order probably $2,000 worth of parts just to get this thing back to normal. So I have the knock sensors out. This one looks pretty good, honestly, but look at how crusty this one is. And I have no idea what causes that. If anyone knows, yeah, please drop a comment down below, because I don't quite understand that. That doesn't look great either. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this plate off. I'm 90% certain that there's a new seal in the kit that I bought. So if not, I'll just have to get another one. But I wanna get down there and look into it. And I think what next is gonna happen today is I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get that crank pulley off, so I can get to everything behind, because all that stuff's arriving today too, I believe. So yeah. Here's where we're at right now. Got this valley cover off. This was the knock sensor that was kind of crusty. You can see I still need to wipe out all that. I got a Q-tip in there, try to wipe as much debris out as I can. These are the cam lobes. I'm not sure if that looks good or bad or not. Seems reasonable. But this gasket was definitely in need of replacement. You can see where it's like all sorts of crusty and messed up. And then the bottom side is really black and oily. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad. So please let me know in the comments. So this is the state of the engine. When I pulled the cover, it was a little bit more oily on these bottom four rather than these top four. So I don't know if that's just because the engine itself is slanted down slightly. Again, guys, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Please let me know if this looks good or absolutely terrible. Same with this side. It looks a little dry, although there's some oil inside, but I don't know if this is normal or not. So what I'm going to do is pull these rockers and pull the heads, and I guess we'll know more info there. Oh, and here's what the inside looks like. I'm not sure if that's normal or not either, but it is what it is right now. Okay, so I got the crank pulley off. I think the next step is I'm gonna power wash all of this one more time to make sure that it's like super clean, and then I'm gonna remove the heads and clean them all up and get them ready to go. All right, for me, not having any idea what I'm looking at, really, that doesn't look real terrible. So I'm gonna try to clean all this up. I'm gonna spray some solvent in it. The pistons don't look like completely awful. I mean, that's honestly what I was expecting. So there's some crusties in here, and I don't know how bad that is. I'm debating whether I want to remove the lifters, because it's kind of like, I'm here, let's do it. But yeah, let's get the other head off. Here's where we're at the end of the day. These cleaned up, I think, fairly well. This side is the passenger side, and this one's got a lot more coating, carbon buildup cooked in there. So you can see this one, driver's side, obviously looks a lot better, but Yeah, so the next step is to sort of clean the mating surfaces up, clean these mating surfaces up. I'm going to order some new dowels for everything. And then I think I'm just going to go ahead and do the lifters too. Clean up all the surface edges in preparation for hopefully the gasket kit and all the bits come on Thursday. So in the meantime, probably tomorrow's job, well, the oil pump, all this front section is all coming on Thursday or Friday. So so what I'll probably do is I'll probably just paint the block and then paint the covers and stuff, and then kind of go from there. So I got the timing cover and the valve covers painted up with this is just the first coat. I'm using this wrinkle engine paint for it. Who knows if that's going to work very well or not, but I figure I might as well tart it up while it's out, because when else am I going to do this? So here's how it's coming out. It's not exactly wrinkle like Honda red wrinkle, like that really thick textured, but it's got a little bit of texture, it looks like. So I'm going to put one last final coat on it and call this a day. It's got a lick of paint. The block's got a lick of paint on it, not too much. I kept it away from the mating surfaces. That's drying. I'm in a bit of a holding pattern because I'm waiting for some stuff's going to arrive in a couple hours for the whole timing set and the oil pump. Once I do that, then I can get that on. I'm kind of waiting too for the oil pan to get here, and I ordered that on eBay because it came recommended. So who knows when that's going to get here, but. So I got a big box from Summit Racing with a bunch of the parts in it. So I'm going to open these up now and see what we got. Complete gasket set. That's good. Some head bolts, I think. Oil pump. Timing set. Some more bolts. Yeah, head bolts. More head bolts. Oh, the other side. Water pump. I'm guessing these are the headers. God, they're heavy. The headers that hug. These are 25 pounds each. It's crazy. Alright, so we're going to be putting these on. Here's some flanges. Oh, they did. That's surprising. Alright, so they came with bolts, but got these ARTs, because 2 of mine are broken that are in there now, so I have to figure out how to pull those out. All that packaging for some. All right, those chickens are just out of control. So anyways, let's try this again. What happens is I have a broken exhaust stud inside the head. I'll bring the camera over on the tripod and show you a little bit later. But what I'm going to try to do is I did some research. So I got a washer. I thought it was a 5/16. It looks like it's 3/8, which kind of sucks. But anyways, I'm going to try to build up the exhaust stud and then maybe start to blend it into the washer itself, and then weld the nut on and then wiggle it. And hopefully that works okay. So yeah. I'm a little amazed that worked, honestly. All right, so that was one head bolt or exhaust bolt that came out on this one. That was the other one. I used the same process. Torched the crap out of the bolt, added a ton of heat into it, and then slowly started adding filler, and then dragged it over to the washer. Finished up the pool, and then set the bolt on top. Tacked the bolt on 2 sides. And then try to fill it up again, and then it just comes out. You just got to be careful when you wiggle it around. Well, I put down the garage door so the chickens wouldn't talk, and poured all that and forgot to film it. But yeah, I just put in some motor oil to soak up the cam gear, put the timing chain on, and then I'll work it around that pump quite a bit. So I'm sure I'm doing this completely wrong, but what I did was I took the old crank gear and thing, and then just threaded it over. So I'm just going to use that to press it down. That honestly seemed like it worked all right. Okay, we're just going to have to deal with those chickens. So here's what I did. I got this nice and level, and got the oil pump back on, pressed in a new front main seal, and got all this torqued down. And so next up is the oil pan, and then I'll flip it over and do the water pump and get that kind of buttoned up.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Here's the cut line I plan on doing. So I'm going to zip right across here, down, cut this part off, remove the whole front, and then this is where the tube kind of wants to sit some more. So I'm going to cut in there, and then of course I'm going to round off all the sharp corners are going to get rounded off so they don't make stress risers. Success on the oil pan, you can see it's now sitting flush. no more wobble around. What I'm gonna do is, this one came with a bad dipstick, so I bought a new dipstick, but I'm hearing that it's not gonna work that well because it needs like an LS3 because it interferes with the baffle or something, but I may just modify the baffle. I don't know, but either way, I'm gonna try the dipstick, see how that works. Actually, scratch that. I'm taking off the windage tray, and I'm gonna power wash that. That's just too messy and greasy. I'm getting fingerprints all over everything. So, and I need to clean the deck because the chicken shit everywhere on the deck. So I'm gonna power wash that windage tray, and then play around and see if I can't get the dipstick that I got to work. And then I'll be just putting this thing on. All right, so here it is. It's kind of in, I forget, I may have bought the LS3 style. I don't even remember. I bought so much crap at one time, but the dipstick doesn't really seem long enough, but we'll see. So anyways, I got it all bolted in. I'm gonna take these bolts out one by one and add some thread locker to it, and then torque all this down. Torque the windage tray down, and then there's some stuff that I need to do on the pan before I set it down. Pretty well. Torqued all these bolts down in a crosshatch pattern and then went around again and tested to make sure everything was good. These, I know nothing about inch pounds. It scares me, those little bolts. I used to work on Honda motorcycles, old Honda motorcycles and sports bikes, and those bolts were like really fragile if you got the torque off. So those are on there, PFT, so pretty tight. And that's gonna have to do. So I'm gonna remove the dipstick and I think get the new ACE conversion pulley installed, and then go back and I'm going to re-torque down all these bolts. So I wanted to make sure everything was level, and I feel like these two bolts sucked it up to make sure of that, and then I'm just going to put the pulley on. Hopefully that's correct. I have no idea what I'm doing here. All right, we hit a bit of a snag. I was really stoked to get these heads on, get everything buttoned up, drop some oil in it, make sure everything's working great, and getting the headers bolted on, basically getting everything ready to go in here. So, yeah, Summit Racing sent me these torque to yield bolts. This is the original. You can see that there's an enormous length difference, right? So that's a big problem. So these are going to go back, and these heads are not going to go on today. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. So I got this in and torqued down and thread locked it, but I have these new knock sensors that drop in, but I'm sort of on the fence whether I want to put them in now or not. I guess I will do. Okay, so it's the next day, guys, and let me just tell you what I learned in this process. So apparently on LS engines or early LM engines, there's two different kind of bolt styles. There's one that they call the 3 size, and there's one they call the 2 size. Now the 3 size has the shorter ones here, longer ones through here, longer ones through here, and then they have the tiny ones up at the top. That's what I ordered, that's what I thought that I had. Turns out I didn't. So I was able to return those, somehow got 2 boxes, enough to do 2 engines, and still save $20, so I don't quite understand that. But regardless, I'm gonna get these torqued down, and then the next step is probably get the headers on, get the rest of the front accessories on, because we're getting dangerously close to buttoning this thing up to the point where we can put it into the disco. I'm a little on the fence whether I want to put the air intake on before I put it in the disco. I feel like I'd have more room to reach around down here, but we'll cross that bridge later, obviously. Okay, so I'm going to get cracking on this, and I got my notes right here about the torque sequence, and I'm just going to put you on time lapse. While you're watching that time lapse, I'm going to explain a little bit about sort of my experience on how to get here, or how I got here. Not that I'm anywhere special, but just my journey. So I'm not entirely sure what I planned to say during this time lapse, but I'm fairly certain it was going to be profound. The only thing I could think of is when I bought the Disco, I knew the engine, like all Disco engines, was a ticking time bomb, and the plan was always to LS swap it. I actually set aside budget to do that whenever I bought the Disco, but life got in the way, and those funds were reallocated to some other things, and the Disco sat for a little bit before I really before I kind of got to this point. So yeah, it's coming along. I'm trying a lot of new things. You can obviously tell from the videos that I've not really done this before, so I'm kind of learning as I go. It's been a lot of fun. It's been good to get back to the mechanic side of an auto restoration or however whatever this is called these days. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun and really enjoying myself. All right, I'm going to give you guys the good and the bad with all of this because I feel like I owe you that. Here is what happened. You reused these bolts up here, which was a terrible idea. On top of that, my torque wrench slipped off a couple notches, and by a couple notches, I mean by about 5 foot-pounds and maybe 10, and this snapped, right? Like it just spun in there. So I may have to helicoil it. I don't know. Regardless, I've got some new ones on their way, so I'm just going to tap these valve covers on and come back to that project once the bolts come in, because I think this side's too tight too. But yeah, so I'm going to move on to like the water pump and the things that we need to do to get that going. The water pump, it seemed imprudent not to replace this. That motor had 177,000 miles on it. And with my luck, I'd be in the middle of nowhere on some logging trail in Alaska, and the water pump would go, and I'm just screwed. So I went ahead and got this new AC Delco one. Of course, I threw the old one out to make room for everything and didn't even realize that the thermostat goes right here. So I'm going to have to order a new thermostat housing and a new thermostat. But for the ACE kit, it uses this space right here. It gets taken up by a bracket. So I need to cut these two lugs off. So I'm just going to mark up and put you guys on time lapse and get that cut. So this is the exhaust kit that I got, which is from Summit. It came with a bunch of screws and bolts, which I didn't know about. That would have been nice to know, but those honestly look like pretty crap bolts. But and then it came with these exhaust little flanges, I guess. They bolt up here. I'm not sure if I'll use those, but yeah. So this is what they look like. I bought oddly enough, they did not come with the gasket set, so I'm going to put my own gaskets on and then go from there. All right, so I thought I bought ARP exhaust studs, but I didn't. Looks like I bought the some Extreme Duty. Sorry about the chicken. But yeah, so this is what they are. These bolts, and then I got this gasket set from Feld Pro. I don't even know if those are good anymore. They seemed like they were crazy cool whenever I was a kid, but yeah, I'm just going to get those cinched down up here. Okay, so you can see I've got the ACE bracket on. I kind of smoothed these edges out because I didn't like how sharp they were, but clearance this down here, all the way up to here. Kind of just gave it a bevel. So this is where this bolts up. You can see it kind of goes in to these holes right here, but what stops it is this ear right down here needs to come off. We don't need this anymore, so I'm going to zip it right here and then zip it across and then remove it, sand it, and then I'm going to power wash this so it looks halfway decent. Okay, with the ACE kit, you can see that I got this bracket on and I'm putting this bracket on now. Again, I clearanced all that, and so one thing that I've learned with this kit is this stuff is like straight out of the bandsaw. So you have to do your own beveling and like take off all these sharp edges. For this one right here, you can see I'm lined up in here, or will be. Let's see if I can get this to focus. But yeah, you have to like sand little pieces down to get it to sit right. And I'm debating now how far into this do I want to go, knowing that I'm going to take these off and redo the rockers. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I've got this clearanced off, got this bolted up and nice and installed. It's on there nice. This is the GM idler pulley that needs to get snipped right here. And then what this does is it goes through this bolt and in right there with some spacers, but it'll clash with this, I believe. Yeah, it'll clash with that. So this is I'm cutting off, and then I'll get it bolted in here. This is from the Land Rover. This is a tensioner. All of these bolts are torqued to PFT. This one's got the spacers on it, right? So everything looks like it's online except for this balancer, and that balancer needs to get sucked up. I'm waiting on a tool. This, quite frankly, looks cambered. I don't know if maybe that's what it's supposed to look like. Maybe, I don't know, we'll have to sort that out. But yeah, progress is being made. Oh, that probably needed to go in between all of that. So we're gonna redo everything. Here's the alternator and, excuse me, the alternator and power steering pump bracket. So you do reuse these two from the original bracket. That's a new bolt. So this drops everything down. So you can see it used to be pivoted upward. It drops it down a bit. This is the new hole that I put in. And then what we're doing is we're gonna run a new bolt that comes with the kit through here with a small spacer on it. Back to this view again. Okay, so this third bolt that I drilled through, you can see, let's see if we get this angle, it sits a little proud of the mating surface. So I could sand this down, but what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just drop a washer in front of it so you can see where the little spacer is. I'm gonna drop a washer, maybe two, to space the bolt out so it doesn't go that proud through the other side. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up the engine prep stuff. I don't need to film the rest of the pieces because, well, it just isn't needed. So as you can see in this part of the screen right here, it's very, very close. The power steering is very, very close to this bracket. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna work, so I need to go look at the Defender, or the Disco rather. But yeah, so the rest of the pieces that I'm gonna do, obviously, I need to redo all of these, the rocker arm bolts. So those bolts arrived today, so I'm gonna save that. So I'm kind of at a stopping point, right? So I don't wanna put the AC on or the alternator on just yet because I'm gonna have to pull these valve covers off and everything. So I'm gonna give the garage a tidy, try to figure out where I'm gonna bolt to lift this thing up. It's kind of a little bit weird, but yeah, so I'm gonna do that and get the motor mounts on. Get the motor mounts on, and then probably do the rear main seal and the flex plate. So actually, you guys will probably see that in the next episode. I think this is enough. You guys kind of get what I did, and yeah, it kind of takes us here. So I'm gonna probably lift it in without the intake, and then I'll put the intake on afterwards just so I can get to the bolts and stuff in the back. But yeah, it turns out I did still keep the thermostat housing, so I'll be able to reuse that. I just need to get a new thermostat. If you guys have any suggestions on what temp thermostat I need to do, please put a comment below. I don't know if it's like 180, whatever it is. I don't have a lot of experience with this, so please comment which one I should use. But yeah, that kind of takes us to a stopping point. There you have it, guys. That was the bulk of the engine prep. It was kind of like a light rebuild. The only thing that I didn't do was the piston rings in the cam and the lifters. It turns out I didn't do the lifters. So hopefully none of those things come back to get me, but I'm pretty confident with where we are right now. So yeah, in the next episode, you're going to see me finishing up a lot of the engine prep stuff, and then actually dropping the motor in. I'm looking at the disco right now, and the engine's in. It's on its mounts, but let's save that for the next episode. This one's been one of the longer ones, so I appreciate you guys sticking by. Please be sure to leave a like. Subscribes are always appreciated, and let's continue this journey. Thanks a lot.